Go.
Hello, my name is Joseph, and this is our project on FDI in Costa Rica. FDI, known as Foreign Direct Investment, is the investment in a developing country with the objective of achieving sustained economic growth. In 1997, Intel, one of the largest semiconductor chip makers, opened its new facility in Costa Rica. The reason for opening their facility in Costa Rica was because the country offered tax exemptions, a high education in the labor force, and also a corruption-free environment. In only 2 short years after, the country's growth rate went up 14%. And by 2004, Intel invested nearly $500 million into the country's facility. Intel is now responsible for 5% of the country's GDP and 1/4 of their exports.
One of the first questions that come to mind when thinking about Intel's FDI expansion is why Costa Rica? Well, when deciding where, they first had to decide what they needed. They put together a few factors in economics, education, and even laws and regulations and import and export to decide what was required for their success. They took those requirements and made a short list of countries that they were going to visit personally to make their selection. When visiting Costa Rica, Intel met up with Costa Rican's investment agency, CINDE, which led a two-day tour with the leaders in economics and politics. After this meet, Intel was very impressed with Costa Rica, but still had concerns with Costa Rica's education and technology, also its size. And Mexico was actually Intel's first choice. But due to issues rising in currency and worker unions, they actually weren't able to make the deal successful. This is where Costa Rica stepped in and sealed the deal with their free trade zone agreement. The free trade zone agreement basically gave Intel tax exemptions, scholarships for new workers, and even convenient solutions to general import and export challenges.
Hi, I'm Yin Yao. I'm going to talk about the economic impact of Intel in Costa Rica. First is the GDP. The GDP of Costa Rica has also been tied to Intel since 1997. In 1999, the GDP of Costa Rica grew by 8.4%, but without Intel's contribution, it only has grown by 3%. In long term, since Intel moved into Costa Rica in 1997, the growth in economic activities grew by average like 5% overall. The second thing is from golden beans to golden chips. Since 1997, Intel has repeatedly become the leading exporting company in Costa Rica, leading other industry products far behind. The last thing is direct employment. Now Intel employs 2,900 direct workers, and those jobs are 50% better paid than other industry workers.
One of the greatest social impacts that has come with the development of FDI in Costa Rica has been the increasing access citizens have to technical education. Beginning as microprocessors with about 2,200 workers, Intel has incorporated citizens into their workforce, bettered the educational system, and also diversified the economy. In the early 2000s, engineers in the country were able to work with Intel in one of its groups called the Latin America Engineering Services Group, and subsidiaries the Latin America Design Services. With this, engineers in the country were able to create and develop new types of software. Today, 61,570 students in elementary schools have now more access to information and technological components in their schools. Colleges and universities have even instituted special curriculums and technological programs so that their students will have a better chance of attaining a stable job. With the help of Intel, these students will be able to contribute more to the technological sector and will raise the standard of living not only for themselves but their families as well. By integrating technology into public schools, students will be able to contribute to the growing knowledge-based economy and will be able to compete and actually succeed in the global market.
Go.
Hi, my name is Kristen Kisoon, and I'll be talking about the advantages and the disadvantages of Intel in Costa Rica. One advantage is that Intel helped diversify the trade patterns of Costa Rica, increasing the number of countries traded with. Another advantage is the school system. Costa Rica has set out to make sure that they are producing properly educated and well-rounded students to be future employees of Intel, with a focus on engineering. Another advantage is that in the years 1997 and 1998, import and export swiftly grew in Costa Rica, with Intel being the main company, the main exporting company, and its chips being the main export. One disadvantage is the strain on natural resources, specifically the water supply. The Intel factory sits directly upon the main aquifer in Costa Rica, which millions of people rely on daily for their drinking water. The problem is that with the factory in full swing, the factory will be using over 1 million gallons of water a day, stealing from that aquifer. The locals have also questioned what kind of hazardous material will be let out into their drinking supply.
So FDI, foreign direct investment, is when a company invests in a different company using their money to fund the project. Mostly this is used to grow it locally and do more production as far as labor. We can see it in many companies as far as banks, companies like Intel, and manufacturing companies as far as cars, devices and things like that. A lot of incentives are given, and that's why these companies use FDI. Preferential taxes, free land, individual taxes, and things of that nature to actually promote FDI in different countries. In fact, in Latin America, FDI has grown in 2013. In the magazine Forbes, it was estimated that $185 billion were invested, and the three leading countries that got this amount of money were Mexico, Brazil, and Chile. As we can see, FDI is very beneficial, and it not only helps the company, but it helps the country that it's in, bettering their education and giving them more employment, which making more tax revenue for them. We can see that companies as big as Intel, using their software, were able to grow with Costa Rica and grant those benefits.